I'm Sukhraj Gill. I'm the head of academy at Harrogate High School.
And what is Harrogate High School?
So Harrogate High School obviously is a school that's part of Northern Stars Academy Trust. We're one of 9 schools. There are 2 secondary schools. One's all-girls selective school in Skipton. And Harrogate High School is a school that I like to describe as a fully comprehensive inner city school in Harrogate, even though obviously Harrogate's not a city. It's a truly comprehensive school. We've got some real vulnerable learners, disadvantaged learners, learners with the SEND, but we've got some real high attaining students as well, parents that have got affluence, and so we've got a real mix of students, and it used to be called Granby. For the last 5 or 6 years, just a little bit more, we've obviously moved to this newer building, and we're Harrogate High School now.
And it is, when you arrive, it's noticeably a very nice looking school with plenty of space as well, isn't it? You've got a big sports facility there, big indoor hall, and it's a very nice looking school, without a doubt.
Definitely, we've got a vast amount of space here. We're actually the home to Harrogate Railway's children's football team here.
Yeah.
We've got a hockey club that use our facility, so sports is a big thing that we use our site for. We're sort of developing our grounds. We want to develop a city farm over the next few years. And we've still got this new building essentially that is kitted out for learning first, which is our motto. We've got a dedicated dance, drama studio, music rooms as well, and obviously a great sports hall amongst the classrooms that we use to teach our subjects.
And running a school, and being a head of an academy, I think it's not an easy job, to say the least. I think we live in a world where there's always lots of criticism of people. What have you found to be the main challenges then around Harrogate High?
So this is my first headship actually, and what attracted me to Harrogate High School were learning first, the motto, and obviously the CARES values of courage, aspiration, respect, equality and self-control. And that's what attracted me here. I've worked in an inner city prior to this for a number of years, and what attracted me here specifically, although many of my previous colleagues would say you're going to leafy Harrogate High School, like I described, is a fully comprehensive school, and these students need positivity. These students need somebody and people to look for them. So the challenge coming on the back of a pandemic and then some turbulence, it's safe to say that there was some turbulence in leadership at Harrogate High School through that pandemic. And now for the last 18 months we've had a settled school, we've got a great bunch of staff, and the challenge is to get back to where we want to be, which is the best school for the students that we serve. We've got, like I say, we've got students here that are really vulnerable, and we've got some high attaining students as well. And we want to be the best school for all those students, because I believe we're a really inclusive community school.
And that's something that sometimes you don't always hear, and you get a feel with some schools that it's just all about the grades. So that when it comes to the GCSEs or the A-levels, they're very quick to say they've got A-star stars and students going on to Oxford and Cambridge. But I think if I was a teacher, I'd be proud of those students, but I'd also be proud of the students that have struggled and sort of, if you like, filled a bigger gap, if you like, in where they've come from and where they've managed to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely, and that's our moral purpose. Don't get me wrong, results are important. All the evidence and research points to the fact that those students with a suite of qualifications, good qualifications and learning have a better chance of success in life, whatever anybody describes as success. Yes, there are people that are successful without any qualifications, but the evidence shows you've got a better chance with learning. So that don't get me wrong, that is a focus of ours, whether you're a high attaining student or whether you're a vulnerable. But what we get here, which I believe are those values. We have developed a pledge, certainly these last few months. We've recently had an Ofsted. We were very open and honest about the journey the school had been on, the improvements that we need to make, and we were open and honest and helped forge some of those areas of improvement because we'd already been working on them. So we're certainly an improving school. We've developed a pledge, like I was saying, from our values. of courage. We show courage always, never giving up on any student. That's so they can learn first.
And just to come back to the Ofsted, I think you get, is it around about 24 hours notice, don't you?
So we get a 24 hours notice, and then obviously we have a 90-minute conversation with the lead inspector describing our school, strengths, areas of improvement, and then they come in and essentially triangulate what we're saying, validate some of those things, and then making a judgment of what the school needs to do. And we did that very much in collaboration, because in the report it highlighted that the leaders have an accurate view of the school. So we were already open and honest in terms of where we are on our journey. They also talked about how lower down the school and those things that we have done are showing impact. So that validated the work that we started over the last 18 months, since certainly I've been ahead, and some of the work that the trust started prior to that, in terms of the impact that's showing in a lot of the students. And so that journey that we're on of improvement, it continues.
So you said about, having, your honest understanding of the situation, and that's what you conveyed to Ofsted. Is that seems to be, to my thinking, the fundamental way of moving things forward? If you recognise kind of what's right and what's not so right, you can take things forward.
Definitely, and some of that work has, like I said, started when I arrived, developing our curriculum. Ofsted commented that we've got an ambitious curriculum that not only serves the higher attainers, but it also serves those with SEND and disadvantage, and we always plan with high expectations and high challenge, and we then differentiate and make adjustments for all learners, and we were commended on that. And our next step was to work on our implementation, which we pointed out, and some of the work that we've done on that, we've developed a Harrogate High School teacher toolkit, which has phases of lessons, so there's consistency in language and consistency in delivery for all students, so they have a high consistency from all staff, and we can live up to those high expectations and challenge. We have phases of the lesson that a knowledge recall, which recall knowledge that they've learnt years ago, to keep reminding students of that learning. And then we have a big picture phase, the big question, where we link the lessons learning to today's learning, to the bigger world, how it's going to be applied there, to other subjects, and to prior learning. And then we have what we call our expert input, where the teachers impart knowledge, and then independent practice, where the students have to work hard essentially, and develop from what they've just learnt from the expert, who is the teacher, and then we have a learning review. So that's our phase of implementation that we were already working at, but we know there's further work to do in that area. Another area, they talked about the behaviour and consistency in behaviour and the approach to behaviour. We've been working with the DFE initiative of the Behaviour Hub. We'd signed up to that prior to Ofsted. Mid-year, it's very hard to implement new strategies, and culture in itself takes a while, especially after the pandemic, to embed culture. But we've made a really positive start to the year. A lot of our students have been talking positively, a lot of parental support in terms of what we've developed in terms of our behaviour consistency. We've developed behaviour scripts. So all staff, again, are using the same language. So when the language is used by all staff, then there's a quicker understanding by students of their expectations. And we've made great improvements in that area. We've developed a CARES character curriculum. We've developed a CARES character curriculum, which help develop those values that I've talked about within the child and the student, so they can embody those, develop those. And then we've also tried to work hard on our stakeholder engagement, involving and taking feedback from all.
Just on that note, then, as sort of the head, I think it's sort of it's obviously kind of a key position, and when you get an Ofsted that you don't like, it can affect your staff, and it affects the parents as well. How do you manage that? Because you're the one that sort of, in a way, has got to sit in the middle of it and keep the team together, and keep and keep all the parents on board, I suppose, as well, with what you're doing.
So before the Ofsted, I'd always talked openly and honestly with staff, sharing where we are on our journey. Remember, Ofsted is a point in time.
Yeah.
They could come today and say something totally different. And all schools will go through that continuum of some days they'll be really, really good and some days they won't be. It's a point in time. And I think sharing the journey openly, honestly, with integrity. I invited parents in. We had a parents forum where I openly shared. I did assemblies with every student, so I shared with them and with staff in terms of what our strategies are, what impact, what our responsibilities are. From that, we've developed our Harrogate High School pledge. Our Harrogate High School pledge is linked to our CARES values. So we show courage, never giving up, so we can serve all the community of Harrogate High School. The most important part of that community is the student, the child, all the parents and staff are also part of that, and supporters of Harrogate High School within the community. We, as staff, continually want to learn so we can educate the students in the best possible way.
Just looking sort of generally at schools, you know, we're of a certain age. You know, certainly my school, when I look at the schools, well, in fact, I went to a number of different schools, seem to be really quite different to how schools are now. And I mean that in a really complementary phase. You know, I went to a standard kind of comprehensive, and there seems to be more put on the schools now in what they should do. What have you seen in your time, if you like, in education? What have you seen as the main changes?
Obviously education changes with different governments, different strategy, and there's constantly changes. I mean, I trained as a maths teacher, and while I was teaching maths, there were changes every other year to the maths curriculum, to the way it was taught. We'd never had a settled 2 or 3, 4 years in a specific way. There was always something new coming, and that mirrors education. There's always something new. There's always development. It's always hoped that that development is for the positive. We know across society there are things that are happening, and the impact of that comes into a school, which makes school life much more difficult. But that's the role that we have. We're here to support those learners, you know. And like I said at the outset, these students at Harrogate High School need quality people as well, and we need to put those quality structures in place for them so they can develop and be able to access the big world when they leave Harrogate High School.
And not to turn it into a conversation about politics, but it seems to be so much that gets talked about to do with issues of cost of living, immigration, and now it's come around to schools, and the topic, of course, is concrete. And I can't help but feel that there should be lots of other things that we should be talking about with schools, and getting the best from the schools and
definitely
best for our students.
We want to talk about learning. That's why we're learning first. That's why we have our values of cares. We care for the students. That's all we want to be talking about. And that's why I said we will do the best for every student we have that comes through our building.
So just to finish up then, I suppose we're on, is it the second week? Second week now, isn't it? So things must have got really easy, have they, in the second week? We've started this year with real high expectations with students. With the uniform, the parents have been really positive, supporting that. High expectations in the classroom and their learning and engagement. And students and staff, that consistency which was highlighted in the Ofsted report. Everybody has come together in our community. Staff, students and parents. We had a Year 11 Parents Evening where we had a Year 11 Parents Evening for the parents of our Year 11 students, and we had up to 200 parents and students who came and attended and were shown by our learning directors of our core subjects, maths, English, science, how they can support their children. There's a real positivity in the second week. There's a real positivity, and long may that continue. And as a parent myself, sometimes you want to get involved, you want to support. It can be difficult as your children get older because, you know, they don't want you to sometimes get involved. What can parents do then at secondary school age to best support the school and their
So the parents
children?
can check in with their students daily, really, especially those that in Year 11, in terms of the homework that they've been given, the work that they did. If parents talk about the learning, the child would more likely connect with their learning, because they're talking about the learning, what they learned in school today, how that connects to the next lesson, how they learnt previously. And I think it's important parents speak about the learning in school with their children, so it keeps the child focused on that learning.
And what can we expect to see in this coming year? Are there particular. I think I've spoken about. I normally come down to your Restart Heart Day. In fact, that's where we first.
Yeah, that's where we first met.
Wasn't it?
And you're invited to the Restart Heart Day again. That's coming up very soon. We've got students on the Duke of Edinburgh Award, which we relaunched over the last academic year. We've got students that have been part of the Brilliant Club, which is a programme to support students move on into university. 12 students graduated through that programme last year. We've got our vast site, as I've already talked about, and our sports leaders that work with the local primary schools delivering sports day. That'll go on later in the year. And then all the work that we're doing around sustainability, our school leaders, school student leaders, and our next generation board are working on how we can be more sustainable as well going forward. So there's some of the extracurricular activities amongst all the work that we do in the classroom and getting Year 11 students ready for their exams this year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.